Alright, here I am finally coming out with my Dallas game review. I wanted to wait till Tuesday. Ended up being Wednesday that I came out with this game, even though this game was played last Thursday. It's taken me a long time to really do a review of this football game. I've watched this game in bits and pieces probably about 3 or 4 times, and there's a lot of very specific things that I'm looking at, that I'm breaking down, and honestly, it's so, to me, there's so many different things that are going on in this football game that I cannot cover absolutely every single bit of it in a video. There's just not really any way to do it, and there's not really any way to sugarcoat the fact that we just lost this game. We lost this game probably before we even kicked this football. To be honest with you, just taking a look at a combination between the personnel on the field and, should I say, the available personnel that we have on the field and the effort of some of the individuals on the football field. And granted, that's sort of a mixed bag of craziness as well, because a lot of that can't necessarily be chalked up as the fact they don't have any heart, but a lot of it can be chalked up to the fact that we just have some people that are playing hurt. Morgan Moses has not been 100% in a long time, and we lost him in this football game. Trent Williams played a poor game, in my opinion. He is also playing very hurt, and we don't have individuals to back these people up, and it's tough to see when you've got some people that are playing extremely hurt going up against some very ferocious opponents. That it sucks, because you know if they were healthy, you know that if you had your healthy football team out on this football field, this would be, in my opinion, a little bit of a different outcome. Now, granted, the Dallas Cowboys are not exactly in a situation of perfection either. Does Dak Prescott change the outcome of this football game? To be honest with you, I don't necessarily think that he does. I think that the outcome would have been fairly similar. There were points in which this game was won and lost that you needed to have some of these people step up and play at a Pro Bowl level against guys who are playing at a Pro Bowl level. And that's very difficult to do. That's a very tough ask. First, I'm going to start right off with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins went for 26 for 37, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. A decent game out of him. Not exactly one of the best games that I've seen out of him, but he did, for the most part, carry this football team as much and as well as he possibly could given the circumstances. I do feel that there's a lot of things that are ailing him as a quarterback. There are certain cushions, certain individuals that he relies on to step up, and if they're not available, if they're not there, or if he doesn't have confidence in them, then that changes the landscape of what Kirk Cousins is going to be able to do for you. Ryan Grant came out of this game with 5 receptions for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. This is a kid that stepped up in this game and did a fairly decent job, and I really think that to be the quarterback that we need Kirk Cousins to be, and especially the coach that we need the coach to be, I think right now we're going to have to try to find a place in our game to start developing confidence in people that we have not shown a whole lot of confidence in the past. I think that we might be in the next couple of weeks looking at this particular spot where we're going to be needing some of these players to step up. We're going to have to start leaning on some of these players, because if you're asking a guy who has 12 carries for only 38 yards and a Samaje Perine to basically shoulder a lot of the workload for this offense, to be able to relieve pressure on that passing game and some of those injuries that we have at offensive line, it's a tough ask when you're going up against a stout defense of the Dallas Cowboys. And Samaje Perine did a fairly decent job in this game, given with what he had to work with, because this offensive line was a sieve from the start of this football game. There were so many players that were able to bust through the line of scrimmage, and it really wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to the running game, which running game, mind you, even with a healthy offensive line, was not very good, and only got, seemingly worse. We had moments during the season here where we had some decent rushing yards to put behind a guy like Samaje Perine. But some other things had to work in order for that to happen, and that just didn't happen in this particular football game. The biggest glaring weakness, and it was the biggest glaring weakness throughout this entire football game, the Dallas Cowboys knew about it coming in. They had to have. There's no way that they couldn't have. We have always had issues at that center position. We always have. For the last 2 years, we've had issues with the center position that I have really started. That's as far back as I'm willing to go to really take a look at just how big these center positions and these center issues are. But they're prevalent. And this game's got to be the worst game for the Washington Redskins that I have seen in a very, very long time as far as what particular play you're going to be getting out of your center. I think we finally need to get to that spot where we need to admit to ourselves that Spencer Long as an option in this offense for an offensive lineman was never meant to be a center. And if we are hinging the future of this football team on a center, it can't be him. And right now, he's the only viable option going into this offseason because he was the only viable option coming in from this offseason. He ended up stepping in for a Corey Lichtensteiger, who's not even a center himself. We are denying this football team the option of a viable center. Name for me the last actual center that we had on this football team that was a full-blown, honest-to-God center. It's been years. We have not addressed this position. And the people that we've stuck in there have just been, basically, they've been Band-Aid holdovers. People that we need to get in there to show a little bit of leadership, snap the ball, and that's all you really got to do. That center position is a very, very vital piece of your offensive line, and we have not had a legitimate center, and it's been years since we have been crying to get a legitimate center. I feel that Spencer Long has strengths and weaknesses that really don't fall in line with the idea of what a center needs to be or what we need to have on this football team. And Spencer Long wasn't even in this game. I wrote in my notes, this game was lost when Spencer Long got hurt, and Spencer wasn't even in this game. But think about the chain of events that took place after Spencer Long got hurt. We ended up going with a rookie Chase Roullier, who would not have done better in this game, by the way. We drafted him as a center option, but we drafted him, in the 7th round? So just how serious are we about this center position? We're not very serious about it at all. I think we're just using Chase Roullier as a holdover for whenever and if ever Spencer Long gets hurt, who Spencer Long is not a viable center option for us. We need to be getting serious and start taking a look at 4th and 5th round draft options for a center, or start taking a really hard look at some free agents coming in. Somebody who can really come in here and help out with this double A gap pressure that we've had for years. This center position issues that we've had for years. These are issues that are not going to get better with this current state of affairs for the Washington Redskins. And Tony Bergstrom, God bless this guy. God bless this guy. If you happen to see Tony Bergstrom, kid from Utah. The kid's got 6 years experience? I got my notes, 6 years of experience in the league. I don't know how or I don't know where. But if you see Tony Bergstrom on the street, if you see Tony Bergstrom in the airport, if you see him at the pizza joint, see him anywhere in public, give that guy a hug. Just give him a hug. Just give him a good hug, a good bear hug, and say, thank you, I understand. And walk away. Because Tony Bergstrom got his ass kicked. He got his ass kicked 10 ways from Sunday. I haven't seen an offensive lineman for our football team get their ass kicked quite this bad. It was a good ass kicking. And who knows? Maybe Tony Bergstrom in a former life was an a-hole. Maybe he was an axe murderer. Maybe he was a dirty, crooked politician. Maybe somehow, some way he deserved this ass whooping. Maybe something happened in his life where karma was coming back on him and saying, hey, one of these days, you're going to be a center for the Washington Redskins. So don't worry, it's going to come back at you. But Tony Bergstrom, if he didn't deserve this ass whooping, then he needs a free pass to heaven. He needs something. He needs somehow for $1 million to show up in a briefcase, unattached, no strings attached on his driveway. Because Tony Bergstrom got his face caved in. Absolutely got his face caved in. Because he went up against the likes of an individual like Malik Collins and David Irving. Those guys destroyed him all game long. And you know those guys were high-fiving each other on the sideline. I mean, Taco Charlton, for Christ's sake. A first down option, barely a second down option on this football team had his heyday with Tony Bergstrom. Tony Bergstrom is not a center. I don't know what he was in Utah. I don't know what he was for any other football team that he played in, but when he puts on the Washington Redskin uniform, he's a much better wide receiver option than he is a center. Because he was a turnstile. He was a turnstile, and it was obvious to me in the very beginning of this football game. You take a look at our first 2 drives, guys. Take a look at the first 2 drives and take a look at the coach's film on the first 2 drives. Take a look at that, and you can see that Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff are trying to compensate for Tony Bergstrom. They're trying to give him a second to a second and a half extra block before they peel off onto their own guy, which is compromising in and of itself. That's when you start throwing stunts at him. That's when you start throwing blitz packages at him. And that's exactly what happened. Not that it mattered. It didn't matter. It didn't matter at all because Collins and Irving knew you can't do this all day. You can't do this all day against us. You just can't do it. You ain't going to be able to sustain. You ain't going to be able to hold this Tony Bergstrom guy as a mark. He is a mark. He is easy, and we're going to destroy this guy. And I don't know how many times those 2 individuals were in the background. We're in the background just completely destroying people. Getting in there, getting penetration on that running game, or putting in collapse in the pocket. And how many times did we see Kirk Cousins fall out of that pocket? How many times we bootleg in this football game because we have no confidence in the centerpiece of this football team? And that's frustrating. It's frustrating. We need to address that. Needs to be on your grease board going into this offseason. We need a center. We need a viable option as center. And can somebody please tell me just what a stinger is? What is a stinger? Besides the 1980s icon in WCW, what is a stinger exactly? Because a stinger to me is something completely different. A stinger to me is a little bit of a nerve pinch issue in your shoulder area, and you're going to be back in a couple of weeks. So where in the hell is Sean Loval? First I see him on the sideline, and he's not coming back out. The next thing I know, he's dressed in street clothes, and then after that I see him in an arm brace. What in the hell is a stinger, and when the hell is he coming back? I've seen nothing on Sean Loval. I haven't seen anything. Is he going to be back anytime soon? That doesn't seem like much of an ask. But by God, it's going to be huge going into the future games here because we just lost Morgan Moses again. This is a problem that I've got here. For one, this Dallas Cowboy team played better against us than they have in the last couple weeks. And for those of you that don't understand what division rivals do in games against division rivals, then this argument's going to be way above your head. But you play a division rival twice a year. You know these football teams. You know the players that you're going up against. And the longer you're on that football team, the more of an understanding you have that other team's scheme. The more you have an understanding of the pluses and minuses, the weaknesses of the individual that you're going up against. These guys have got individuals like Trent Williams pretty much down. They've got these individuals like Brandon Sheriff a couple years now. They've kind of got him down. They've already had a really good look at Morgan Moses. They're starting to get an idea, and we're getting an idea for them too. But the more you shuffle these players in and out, the more we don't necessarily know what's going on with the team that has experience against playing us. And that's one of the disadvantages with playing and moving people in and out against division rivals is that, honestly, it's a crapshoot. It really is a crapshoot. I'm not talking about an overhaul of the offensive line. I am not saying that at all. We are banged up. And the only thing that's going to save this offensive line right now is an offseason. I hate to say it, this season's over. This season's been over for a couple of weeks. I don't care how many people are saying that they're putting the Washington Redskins logo in the hunt column. This team has been done for a couple of weeks, and it starts at that line of scrimmage. These games are won and lost at the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive side of the football. If you can't gain penetration on defense and collapse the pocket, you're not going to win football games. If you cannot sustain a pocket and control the line of scrimmage on offense, you're not going to win football games. And we didn't really get a whole lot of both on either side in this football game. We really didn't. My grease board has already gone up on what it is that I think that we need to do at offense and defense. I'm eyeing a couple people. I'm telling you right now, I got my eye on some people. I got that red highlighter pen out, and I got my name on a couple individuals on this offensive line that I'm paying very close attention to. I got some names on this defensive line, especially that defensive lineman. I got a really good eye on some defensive line issues that need to be addressed in this offseason. I'm telling you right now, I'm at the point right now where I kind of really don't care what talent is out there in the first round. I know I've said before you draft for talent, but if there are certain people that are on this board, by the time that draft comes down to us, I'm picking these people up because we need help with this defensive line. And that's even with Jonathan Allen, who has not been playing. I think that complimenting him, could you imagine a true, honest to God, zero technique defensive tackle would do for this football team. A first-round draft selection playing next to a Jonathan Allen. Imagine that, for instance. I know what you can think of. If you want to take a look at what that really is like, go take a look at that Philadelphia Eagle defensive line right now. Could you imagine what would happen if we had a Timmy Jernigan on this football team? Could you imagine what would happen if we had, I can't remember what's that defensive lineman for New York right now? Snacks Carlson, I can't remember his name. If you could imagine if he was on this defensive line, an individual who we should have picked up in this offseason, I can only imagine what this defense would look like at just being able to stop the run and collapse the pocket with those individuals. And that starts a big part of what your issues are on defense. You can't ask your secondary to come up with massive plays every single game. It starts with getting pressure on the guy that is the most important on that offense, and that's Dak Prescott. That's these quarterbacks that we're going up against. That's the Drew Breeses, of the world. That's every quarterback that we go up against, being able to put pressure on him. And if you're not going to get serious about that, if your only solution to that is to mix up your coverages and to start sending blitz packages, then frankly, I don't know what to tell you. There's issues with that as well. And these have been issues we've been fighting for the last couple of years. We've gone up against football teams that have only sent four-man rushes against us and have gotten to the quarterback. That's what I'm looking for in a defense. That is what I want. That is what I've been talking about this whole time. This is one of the reasons why I've talked about not necessarily taking Kirk Cousins in the offseason and sparing us that huge tag against our cap, is because we can't build the pieces around him with that huge. You can't pay this guy $36 million a year in a long-term contract and expect to build defenses around him and offenses around him. That's not going to happen. He does not have the ability to carry a football team like that. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to be expected to be those people. He's going to be expected to be, a Russell Wilson, who has a crappy offensive line but still is able to make things happen. Can we sit here and compare Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins? No, we can't. He's not that type of quarterback. You can win with a Kirk Cousins, but you can't pay this guy through the nose and spare other positions. You can't win without him either. I get that argument. I really, really do. But if you're talking about a placeholder at quarterback and yet still not having the pieces at offensive line and defensive line to be able to, you're not going to get wins that way either. So we got to get really, really serious. And it's hard to talk about in this football game how we're going to be serious about beating a team like the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, we're talking about, people are in this football game that are talking about the lack of a run game and the lack of the performance of a Kirk Cousins. It starts at the offensive line. The minute Morgan Moses got hurt, it was pretty much strap up your chin straps, because it's going to be somebody's going to get their ass kicked all game long, and Kirk Cousins' name is at the top of that list. The minute Morgan Moses went down, we were screwed, and I'll tell you why we were screwed. Because Ty Nsekhe spent all week trying to learn the left guard position, and he's not a left guard. He spent the whole time trying to learn left guard. Let's get in there, let's figure out left guard. And he played, 2 series at left guard, and that was it. That was it. He spent the whole week learning left guard. He learned all of our blocking schemes on run. He learned all of our blocking schemes on pass, left guard. And yet after 2 series of play, we're going to need you to play right tackle. What? Excuse me? Left guard? I mean, to me, my comparison with going from the left-hand side of the line to the right-hand side of the line, especially left guard to right tackle, it's like NASCAR. Where are you as a driver in a NASCAR? In a stock car, where are you sitting? You're sitting on the left-hand side of the car. Okay, you're sitting on the left-hand side of the car, the steering wheel's on the left-hand side of the car, and you're turning left. Okay, you're turning left, and you got a really good shot at winning the Daytona 500 because you got experience at learning how to drive under those conditions. Now, if you take the Daytona 500 and you put it in Europe and you start changing all the parameters, you start putting the driver's seat on the right-hand side of the car, and all you do is making right-hand turns, and now we're expecting you to win the Daytona 500? It's not going to happen. Everything's backwards. Everything's backwards. Everything's opposite. That's why we have right-handed fighters that have a hard time dealing with left-handed fighters. You can't take that straight left-hand lead from somebody because you're not used to seeing the left-hand lead come at you. Everything's backwards. What happens if a pitcher pitches at you and all of a sudden he's a left-handed pitcher and you've been used to right-handed people all the time? It's going to be much harder to hit that baseball because you're used to everything being a certain way. Everything's backwards now. We just took Ty Nsekhe. Think about this. Think about it. Just close your eyes. Think about it for a second. We're going to take Ty Nsekhe and we're going to move him at right tackle. We're going to move him at right tackle. And then we're going to take Eric Kwanjo and we're going to stick him at left guard. How about that? With Tony Bergstrom, who sucks in the middle. And then we're going to blame the running game. And then we're going to blame Kirk Cousins. You dumb bastards. You're all dumb. Who in their right mind can win under those conditions? Nobody. I don't even think Tom Brady. You throw Tom Brady, you give him his weapons behind an offensive line under those conditions, we're going to make you practice all week. We're going to put Ty Nsekhe at left guard, and we're going to put Trent Williams at left tackle. We'll put Tony Bergstrom at center. We're going to put Morgan Moses at right tackle. And we're going to put at right guard, we're going to put Brandon Sheriff. And you're going to practice that. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be like, at the last minute, during the game, he's not going to know this, but we're going to move Ty Nsekhe at right guard, at right tackle. And we're going to put a guy he hasn't even practiced with, Irie Kwanjo, at left guard. And see what he does then. Right. Kind of see where I'm going here? As soon as Morgan Moses went down, this game was over. This game was over when Spencer Long went down. We were just basically holding a candle to the hurricane, thinking that we were going to win this football game with this group that we have in here, as injured and as banged up and as clueless and as inexperienced as this offensive line was. We are hanging by a thread with Samaje Perine at running back right now. You know what happens? Do you have any idea what happens when he gets hurt? What happens if Samaje Perine and how in the world did Samaje Perine not get hurt under these conditions? You start moving around offensive linemen that don't know their positions to begin with and moving them to positions they really don't know. And now everything's backwards. How Samaje Perine made it out of this game without getting injured, how Kirk Cousins made it out of this game without getting injured is beyond me. That scope is beyond me. I don't understand, because that's a really good recipe for getting people hurt permanently. Malik Collins had a field day at defensive tackle. David Erding had a field day at defensive tackle. Taco Charlton had a field day, and Taco Charlton's a rookie. He looked like a 4-year Pro Bowler against Bergstrom in this football game. Richard Ashe, I don't even know who Richard Ashe is. Anybody heard of Richard Ashe? Never heard of him. Looked like an All-Pro going in this football game, playing against this group that we had at offensive line. Jamison Crowder. The worst football game I've seen you play since we drafted you out of Duke. I almost felt like sending you back to Duke. Can we stop? Can we please stop? This is a plea. Please, 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 please. Please stop with the Jamison Crowder experiment on special teams. I would much rather see Jamison Crowder as a long snapper on special teams than see Jamison Crowder fielding punt returns and kick returns for this. Stop with Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder needs more time on the sideline to collect himself. That's what he needs. He needs more time to concentrate on second and third down as a slot receiver. So let's stop adding to the Jamison Crowder plate. This experiment was over a couple of weeks ago, and we still keep going back to him. I don't have anybody to throw back there. I submit to you that's BS. That is BS. Of course you have somebody to throw back there. I throw Ryan Grant back there. Okay, I'd throw any wide receiver, anybody. I would throw Niles Paul back there. I honestly think Niles Paul could catch the football, and right now at this point, that's all I want. I don't want a return. I don't care what the return is. If you think you can return the football, I want you to smack yourself across the face. And I want your face to go straight in that dirt with that football. I don't care if that team is 20 yards away from you by the time you field it. I want you to slap yourself across the face, and I want your face down in the dirt. I want that ball down. I don't want to take any chances with running the football, because right now we don't have a punt returner. We don't have a punt returner. There's no punt returner on this football team, so why run it back? It makes no sense to run a play back. Nobody can carry the football. Nobody has experience at doing this. And if you have experience in high school at running punt returns back, I don't care. Slap yourself across the face and put your face in the dirt. If you had experience in college with fielding punts, I want you to slap yourself across the face and put your face in the dirt. That's what I want you to do on special teams right now when you're fielding punts. I would stick anybody back there. And that would be my question. This is why I would not make a good beat writer. Because I'd be the one standing there with my hand in the air going, you don't have anybody to put back. I could think of a couple people you could put back there. I would put Niles Paul back there. I'd put Josh Doxson back there if I didn't think he would get hurt. But I would put Niles Paul back there. I wouldn't put Jamison Crowder back there. Hell, I'd put Sprinkle back there. Sprinkle's a tight end. Put Sprinkle back there. Sprinkle, catch the ball, slap yourself across the face, and go face down in the dirt. That's all I want you to do. That's all I want. Can you do that? And all I want to hear out of you is, yes, coach. That's it. I would throw a lot of people back there. Anybody who can catch the football on this football team besides Jamison Crowder. I mean, Jesus Christ, I put our backup. I put Colt back there. I put Colt McCoy back there. Colt, can you catch this football? Go back there. Catch the football. That's it. Catch the football, take a knee. That's all I want you to do. And we were going to be the laughing stock, and we were going to be the most embarrassing thing in NFL football, but you know, damn it, we're not going to cough the football up. That's what we're not going to do. Just catch the ball. Just catch the ball. Catch it, go down. Jamison Crowder fought way too hard in this game. It was all mental. That first interception, I'm under the impression that first interception messed with him big time. And let's face it, I am saying right now that first interception that Kirk Cousins threw was not on Kirk Cousins. That was on Jamison Crowder. And I'm telling you right now, I've got it in my notes. The Jamison Crowder interception, that had everything to do with number 54, Jalen Smith. Had everything to do with number 54, Jalen Smith, because Jalen Smith saw the slant route. He saw the slant route and was closing the distance. And when Jamison Crowder went to catch that ball, he felt that linebacker closing in on him. And you want to know how I can tell? It's very obvious from the coach's film, but if you watch just the regular coverage, Jamison Crowder goes to catch that football, misses the football, and at the last minute, he cringes. He curls up because he's expecting that hit from Jalen Smith. In the coach's film, it's very, very obvious. Before he even puts his hands on the football, he turns and looks at that middle linebacker. So Jamison Crowder was expecting a hit from Jalen Smith. So I don't know if Kirk was late getting this ball out, and maybe this ball was a little bit late. Maybe he was creeping closer to the linebacker. I can tell you right now, I don't care. If it is your job to catch the ball in a slant route, I don't care when that ball gets there. You got to catch that football. I don't care if you're going to get your face handed to you by Jalen Smith and he's going to put you in a hurt locker and it's going to suck and you're probably going to blow a couple vertebrae. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Because you're getting paid and you're a professional and it's your job. That's 3 strikes against you. You're out. Do the damn job. Catch the football. It is your job to put your body on the line. It is your job to get your face handed to you by Jalen Smith, should he so desire or be in a position to be able to do so. That first interception is the one thing that I think messed Jamison Crowder up to the point where he tried so hard to do so much better that sometimes that just happens. Sometimes you try too hard and you end up screwing up even worse. And I think that's what ended up happening. I think he ended up trying to do way too much. Josh Doctson, decent game. Had some mishaps. This has been his repertoire all season long. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I heard this on the radio, and I'm going to agree. I'm going to regurgitate this. But I honestly think that Josh Doctson needs at least 10 to 12 throws thrown his direction from here on out. But I'm going to go further. I think that Niles Paul needs more looks. I think that Ryan Grant needs more looks. I think Josh Doctson needs more looks. And I think we need to see what we have in Jeremy Sprinkle as a blocking tight end. We need to know what we have at wide receiver. And if we are out of the playoff race right now, in which case we are out of the playoff race, we need to see what it is that we need to do going into this offseason. Because right now, wide receiver is a big question mark for me. I don't know what to think about this wide receiver core. There's only one guy in this wide receiver core that I have faith in, that's Jamison Crowder. And this last football game showed me everything that he really, really wants to be traded this offseason. With this performance he put in, you know Jamison Crowder is going to do better. I mean, let's face it. He's Jamison Crowder. He just had 1 bad game. This is the first bad game I've seen him have in all season long. So I'm keeping Jamison Crowder. But everybody else, your position right now is under scrutiny. I'm throwing a microscope under all of you, and I'm gonna throw into my game plan and my game scheme where I'm gonna start testing my wide receivers on the outside. I already know what I got at tight end, except for maybe Jeremy Sprinkle. I know Niles Paul can catch a football at this point. Don't even get me started on Jordan Reed. I'm at the point right now where I'm looking to start to try to finally figure out a way to get out from underneath this Jordan Reed contract. Because I can't keep this kid healthy. If you can't be on this football team and if you can't contribute out on that football field, then I've got no use for you. And if last year's the only thing you got in your repertoire as far as being able to be a healthy tight end, then I'm sorry, you've been in the league long enough. I just think you're an injury-prone asset at this point, or a detriment at this point. So I may be looking at a tight end this offseason. There's a couple good tight ends that are out there coming out of college. But I'm taking a look at what I have at wide receiver. Do I have a couple people? Is Ryan Grant going to be a guy that I can lean on the rest of this season, having a good, solid offseason? And he's had a number of solid offseasons, and we're just finally getting to the Ryan Grant project. But is this going to be a guy I can lean on coming in to this future season? Is Josh Doctson going to be a first-round draft selection for us on the football field? Besides the draft, we know he's a first-round draft selection in the draft, but on the football field, we really have yet to see it. Is this going to be a guy that we can lean on? He's on a rookie contract, so we got a couple years to figure this out with Josh Doctson, but I need him to step up a little bit more. I need him to do a little bit more. What other options do we have at wide receiver? Are we going to have a couple guys to lean on, or am I overhauling this wide receiver core going in? Because I can tell you right now, that's going to take up a huge part of what we do in this offseason is going to be at this wide receiver spot. We need a lot of help here. And I'm sorry, but you know what? The Deshaun Jackson situation, the Pierre Garçon conversation, that's over. That's over and done with. It makes no sense to bring those names up anymore. They're no longer on this football team. But we need third down options besides slot receiver. We need somebody to catch that back shoulder throw. I need to know if Kirk Cousins can make that throw on a consistent basis. He's done it in a game or two, but that's it. I don't think he has much faith in these guys on the outside. And is Kirk Cousins even going to be here in this offseason? Is it even going to be worth it? I think either way, no matter who you throw behind center, you need to figure out what your wide receiver core is like. So I'm going to start giving these guys looks if I'm Jay Gruden. So who do we have here? Are these guys going to start dropping footballs? We're going to have to start looking for their replacements, or are some of these guys going to start stepping up and actually want a job here and be a future option for the Washington Redskins? Those are positions that you need to go on your grease board and start circling, start writing names down. That's what I'm looking at in these next few games that I got coming up against the Chargers. Great tests. We're going to lose this game. I'm sorry. The Chargers are tearing people up right now. That's just the way it is. Their defense is extremely stout. But I'm still throwing looks at these wide receivers and seeing exactly what kind of separation. I'm going to tell them, I'm going to challenge you guys. Say, hey, you know what? I'm looking in these next couple of weeks. The San Diego Charger team has a very, very stout defense. They're very good in their secondary. And frankly, you're a professional. And if you want a job here with the Washington Redskins, if you want to continue your tenure here as a professional, you better start showing me some of the basic fundamentals that a wide receiver has in their repertoire. Because right now, it's not there. We're going to start throwing some looks to you. And we got to start doing our job. Catching the football, running correct routes, getting the right depth, figuring out the coverages, figuring out the audibles, having some faith in catching the football, having some faith in running the football, getting out of bounds when you need to, staying in bounds when you need to, not jumping off sides. Stupid stuff. The complex stuff. The everyday stuff. How am I going to rank you as an individual in all of these categories? Because at the end of the season, I need to know what I got at wide receiver. I have to. I don't even know where I'm at in my notes. I've already gone into the defensive line situation as far as Dallas goes. We all knew that Dallas had an advantage with their defensive line going up against our offensive line, but not having Ezekiel Elliott was going to be a little bit of a plus for us. Obviously, the center position was going to be a major concern. I don't think we planned on Morgan Moses getting hurt, but we knew it was a possibility, him and Trent Williams both. Like I said before, we were doomed the minute that Moses got hurt. This defensive line that we have for us right now, I am already taking a look at college draft prospects for defensive linemen. I'm watching a couple, and that's one of the reasons, to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I've been so late coming out with this video. I've only got a certain amount of time available to me to watch film, and I've watched a lot of this game, and the more days go by, the more irrelevant the Dallas and Washington game becomes. But I'm also watching college football games as well, and I'm not watching all of them. I'm watching a handful of them. Again, I'm a huge fan of the Pac-12, so I'm watching a couple Pac-12 games. But I'm taking a look at defensive linemen. I'm taking a look at guys that I think could come in here in the later rounds and really be a good option for us at defensive line. Also, I'm taking a look at some secondary options as well. I'm taking a look at some upcoming secondary options as far as safety goes, and I'm looking at depth. We could use a rookie at safety. We really, really could, because we've got some good secondary people right now. Honestly, this secondary's come together, and a lot of these guys I would like to stick with. But right now, Monte Nicholson is hurt. I think Monte Nicholson could be a viable option for us. I think we need a backup to him, and I wouldn't mind drafting somebody to back up a Monte Nicholson. I wouldn't mind having somebody as a backup to come in here and do well at this secondary at the safety position. Corner position. Right now, we've got a lot of our salary cap that's right now invested into Josh Norman. And frankly, that's okay. Whatever. He hasn't been playing very well at all in the last couple of weeks, but I'm putting faith in Josh Norman to be able to step up and to be able to show up at some of these games that we have that are remaining. He's a player, as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't done well here recently, but he's a guy that that's going to be able to step up. But I wouldn't mind taking a look at some corner spot positions to be able to back some of these cornerbacks that we have up. Quentin Dunbar, I think, has stepped up and played very, very well for us, but is he going to be a viable option for us in the future? I don't know. Kendall Fuller has really, really stepped up, but he kind of faltered a little bit in this Dallas game as well. We got guys like Fabian Moreau. Honestly, Fuller, Dunbar, and Moreau, those guys are decent and viable options. I wouldn't mind throwing another rookie back there and seeing what it is that we got, because frankly, Bashaud Breeland hasn't been playing that well. Bashaud Breeland was a target against the Dallas Cowboys in this game. He really, really was, and he was not able to step up. He's had one game against the Dallas Cowboys that has him on this football team and has him in a warm, fuzzy place with these fans. But if you take a look at the tail of the tape, in reality, he's played much worse against Dallas than he has played well. So, I mean, Dez Bryant lit this guy up, and I'm sorry, but Dez Bryant's lost it. He's lost it. And not even Dallas has faith in this guy. Even after he had that huge catch against us, they still sat his ass on the bench. They don't have faith in Dez Bryant. They have faith that Dez Bryant could take out Bashaud Breeland, and they were right. But did they go back to it? No, because they don't have to. This became the Alfred Morris show for the Dallas Cowboys on off. That is how dominant that offensive line was. They dominated that line of scrimmage, and our defensive line could not hold up. I have been looking at Ziggy Hood for the last 3 weeks, and we need somebody at that position. I'm not a fan of Ziggy Hood's. I think Ziggy Hood has been a decent placeholder for us. I was questioning that position with him being in there, especially after we lost Baker. Still not exactly happy about the Baker loss. Baker is not exactly that type of zero-tech defensive tackle that I want, but he was okay at it, handled the double team well. He was better, than Ziggy Hood, and Ziggy Hood's not all that great. I want somebody who's stout in that center position. And I think we can go to the draft for that. There's a couple guys in the draft that I have my eye on that I think we can get in here and do really, really well at that position. Those guys are not... they're not a dime a dozen. They're very, very few and far between, and they go quick. And you'd have to take a look at the first round to be able to find somebody. And hopefully they pan out to be an option for you at the pro level. Some of them don't even make it that high. Linebacker spot. The linebacker spot is a smorgasbord at this point. Junior Gillette, I've circled his name. I've been watching him for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's really, really going to have to step it up for me to want to extend him a long-term contract. Because right now, I don't think I'm extending him one. If the season ended today, Junior Gillette would not be back on this football team. It just has not panned out for me. He has not been able to be very stout against the run, and he has not been able to collapse the pocket on a consistent basis against the pass. Because I need somebody to really, really complement Ryan Kerrigan. I want to be able to do some things with Ryan Kerrigan because, let's face it, Ryan Kerrigan's a 7-year veteran. Coming into 2018, he's going to be an 8-year veteran. At some point, we're going to have to start thinking about replacing Ryan Kerrigan. Because he's getting old. And a lot of people love Ryan Kerrigan, but we're going to have to start taking a look at options at outside pass rusher. start taking a look at a first-round draft selection in the next couple of years to be able to complement that individual or replace him. I've also got Preston Smith highlighted. Martrell Spates highlighted. These guys are injured, but you know what? Body of work's going to be huge. And if you're going to spend a lot of time on that bench, I've got no use for you. Mason Foster is a guy that I think that we can hitch the plow to. He's hurt as well. He's season-ending injury, but I honestly think that I'm liking the Mason Foster combo with Zach Brown. And they say right now they're working on a long-term contract with Zach Brown. I don't know what's taking so long. I hear Zach Brown's asking for quite a bit of money. He's wanting a lot of money for that middle linebacker position. I'm going to tell you right now, you can't just have somebody on these football teams that do really, really well and just say, you know what, pay them their money. Pay them their money. That's how you get into trouble. You have to negotiate these positions. You have to. You can't sit here and pay a middle linebacker a ton of money when he's not necessarily worth it. Now, in my opinion, is Zach Brown worth top 10 linebacker money? Yes. He's played that well for us. He has. He's played phenomenal in the middle. I am seeing all-pro things out of him. Even in the Dallas game, I saw 3 or 4 plays that I said to myself, that is an all-pro next-level gameplay that Zach Brown's giving us. Taking a look and not falling for the run and realizing it's a pass, falling into his zone. But instead of reading the quarterback's eyes, taking a quick look and seeing who's behind you, ooh, there's a slot receiver running a post pattern right behind me. I need to cover that. Not a lot of linebackers do that. Most linebackers are going to fall back into their zone and watch the quarterback's eyes and have no idea who's behind them. It was just a quick glance. Well, oh, there he is. I'm going to cover right into this zone because I'm going to head off that pass. I'm taking him away as an option. That happened twice in this game. I don't know exactly where they're at, but that happened twice where he turned around to see where he was at. And oh, I need to be here because I saw that guy behind me. Get a mental picture of what's behind me, and I need to be here. I need to be there. And then I'm taking a look at the quarterback's eyes and seeing where he's going to go. Heads up, all-pro play. All-pro level play. We haven't had that kind of play since London Fletcher, to be honest with you. Will Compton does not have the wherewithal to do that. There's a lot of linebackers, and I honestly think that putting a Zach Brown next to an individual like Mason Foster could help Mason Foster flourish. I think we got a lot of talent in Mason Foster. Those two individuals are going to be, in my opinion, if it's up to me and I'm in charge of the wallet, if I'm in charge of the money book, I'm basing a lot of my future on those two individuals, Mason Foster and Zach Brown. I think they're going to be good for us. We just need outside pass rush. As far as linebackers concerned, right now I'm red circling guys like honestly, even Trent Murphy, who's out for the season. What's he going to be like? Are we going to take him up next season, or are we not? Or are we going to let him go? I think he's he was a huge sack machine for us last year. Is this injury going to hold him back? Is this a direction we want to go in, or is this a guy that we want to get rid of? So you're taking a look at 3 individuals right now that I'm red circling on Mike Reesport. You know, those 3 individuals being Trent Murphy, Preston Smith, and Martrell Spate. Those guys are guys that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at inside interior defensive line help because I'm not sitting on Ziggy Hood. I'm not sitting on Phil Taylor, Stacey McGee as my options. Matt Ioannidis is a viable option on this football team. Even with a club on his hand, he's still getting pressure on Dak Prescott. He's still getting pressure in every game he's playing in. Matt Ioannidis is a guy you can hitch your plow to. He's a guy I'm going with next season. I'm still going to watch him, still see what he does, but I'm going to see how well he's going to do. Another guy who's doing really, really, really well right now, who comes out every once in a while, is Anthony Lanier. Anthony Lanier has a couple of plays. For the most part, he's not really much. He's not very viable. But is this a guy that's going to learn the more time you give him options behind, that line of scrimmage on the football field? Who knows? Anthony. There's been a couple times in this game where I'm like, who's 72? I don't know who 72 is. Who is 70? Anthony Lanier. Okay, I'll remember that. Couple plays later, next half, who is 72? Number 72. Where do I remember that? Anthony Lanier. I remember saying his name before. I'm going to write that name down. A couple of times in this game. Only 2 years of experience for Anthony Lanier. Does he have upside? You got to start asking yourself these questions. Some of these younger guys that you have coming up. The Kendall Fullers have only got a couple seasons behind his belt. The Preston Smiths only have a couple seasons behind his belt. Who other individuals? Matt Ioannidis is another individual. Some of these guys only have a couple years of experience on their belt. Are these guys that are going to be the future of this football franchise? Some of them, I think, can be. Absolutely. So if I were you guys, start circling names. Figuring out who it is that's going to be the future of this franchise in the next couple of years. Who are you going to pay? Who are you going to start getting rid of? Who is going to play better when we're at full strength? Because right now, this offensive line, I mean, we need help. Right now, I am seriously looking at a center, and I've been looking for a left guard. I don't know how many years I've been complaining about left guard. If I am needing Sean Lovow to come back, you have got serious problems at offensive line. Because Sean Lovow, I was bitching about Sean Lovow 2 years ago. I was bitching about him last year, and I'm bitching about him this. Well, I'm not really bitching about him this year. This year, I want him back. I really need him back because he just sucks a lot less than a lot of these guys we have on this team. Brandon Sheriff is next level guard potential. I do not want a guard out of the first round. You're crazy for taking a guard out of the first round. Even though we took Brandon Sheriff. Brandon Sheriff was a guard because most people were taking a look at Brandon Sheriff as a tackle. We saw him as a guard. So far, he's been paying off really, really well. I like Morgan Moses. If Morgan Moses is healthy, he's a good right tackle. I said it last year. There are a lot of pass rushers that we nullified last year because Morgan Moses played well. Morgan Moses has been hurt since the beginning of the season. And for those of you that don't think he's doing a very good job, I need you to go outside and I need you to take an industrial hammer and I need you to smash your ankle once on the left leg and once on the right leg, and then I need you to go play football and be at an all-pro talent level. I need you to do that for me. And tell me how well you do, because that's what Morgan Moses has been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, playing on smashed ankles. Taped to high heaven, the guy looks like he's in moon boots. You know, and he's standing straight up after blocks. He's not finishing blocks, because frankly, I think he's in a lot of pain. But I would hitch my plow to Morgan Moses. I keep him on this football team. I think I can do some things with Morgan Moses and Brandon Sheriff. I just need somebody that Trent Williams doesn't need to compensate for at right guard or at left guard. I need somebody at left guard. I need somebody at center because that's a huge weakness right now. We're seeing a lot of defensives come in, a lot of defensive teams coming at a 0 tech and then shifting to a 3 tech. They're shifting to the right to a 3 tech because they know that those are weaknesses for us right now. They're shooting those gaps, A-gap, B-gap pressure, and it's working. A lot of pressure's getting up in Kirk Cousins' face coming up the middle. They're sending blitz packages our way. They're sending stunts, and the stunts are working. That's an issue. You need to shore up those needs. What are the needs the Washington Redskins have coming into this season? Right now, what we need to do is we need to get our barf bags and our cry towels coming up against the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers are playing at home. It's going to be an away game for us, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is an away team every single day of the week, as far as the LA Chargers are concerned. They don't play at home. They're playing in a baseball field. It's an away game for them every single week, and they're doing really, really well. They're whooping some serious ass out there. Taking a look at the teams that they've beat. They had a really, really rocky start coming into this season. 4-game, 5-game lose streak, but then all of a sudden they played the Giants. And the Giants were their tune-up game. All of a sudden, they figured it out with the Giants. They've lost to the Patriots. They've lost to the Jags. Who doesn't lose to the Jags and the Patriots right now? Right now, the Jaguars, one of the best defenses in the league. I would love to have that defense. I don't think I would want to sacrifice in order to get that kind of defense, but they've got a phenomenal, phenomenal stout defense, and they still put up 17 points against that team. They came in against the Buffalo Bills and put up 50. Against that defense, they put up 50. They trounced the Dallas Cowboys 28-6. 28-6. This is a team that came in and owned us last week, and they only put up 6 points against the Chargers. And this isn't all about win-loss record. I'm taking a look at what Phillip Rivers is doing. I saw Phillip Rivers in week 2, week 3, and I said, I don't even know how it is that this defense goes up against this guy. This guy's carving up coverages right now. He's carving up coverages. And that's what Phillip Rivers does. He's one of those guys that plays for a crappy football team that has the ability to carve up a defense. Same thing that I said last year about the Detroit Lions. Okay, Stafford is a guy that can carve up your coverage. Okay, Rodgers is a guy that can carve up your coverage. Drew Brees can carve up your coverage. How did we do against Drew Brees this year? Phillip Rivers has Drew Brees talent. He has that ability to take a look at what you're throwing at him, taking a look at pre-snap what you're going to do, know where his mismatches are. He can pretty much guess what your coverages is, and by the time he's in by the time he's at the third step of his 5-step drop, he's got a pretty good idea of where he's going to put that football. And if you've got a weak secondary and if you've got no pressure against this guy, he's going to carve you up. And that's honestly what I think he's going to do right now. How well is Keenan Allen doing this year? Anybody know? Anybody know how well Keenan Allen's doing right now? He has 1,000 yards, and the season's not even over. Anybody want to name me a corner on this football team that can take him one-on-one right now? Is it Josh Norman? I don't necessarily think it is. Do you put Josh Norman on him all day? Because I can tell you right now, Phillip Rivers ain't scared of Josh Norman. He ain't. He's taking a look at these last 2 games. He's taking a look at every game since Seattle. I'm saying Josh Norman? Not worried about him. What's up, Gordon? We got this. What's up, Allen? We got this. Come on, Keenan. It's only Josh Norman. And God forbid if they put Rashad Breeland on you. If they put Rashad Breeland on you, I'm going to you every time. Melvin Gordon right now, almost 800 yards rushing. That's one of the success stories right now of this offense. They stopped putting it all into Phillip Rivers' hands. They've actually relied a little bit on their running game. And we have to stop this running game. And we don't have the horses right now to do it. I don't know how we're going to stop Gordon. But we need to try. We need to keep him at bay. We need to stop the run game. We need to put the pressure on Phillip Rivers to win this game with his hands. To put that ball up in the air, we need to find a way to get to Rivers and put pressure on him. We need to do against the LA Chargers what we did against the Oakland Raiders. We got a really good shot of beating this team under those conditions, but we haven't seen that type of gameplay against the Oakland Raiders since Oakland. But if we're taking a look at their home win-loss record, that's not going to matter. Well, that's going to do it for me, guys. Again, no more talk about the playoffs. Playoffs are out of the picture for us. Right now, I'm taking a look at certain things going into this offseason. We need to fold the playoff tent, and we need to grab our grease boards, throw them up on our wall, go to the store, buy yourself some really big grease boards. Buy yourself an offense grease board and a defense grease board, and just start writing down names. Writing down names, writing down numbers, things that you need to see out of these people, focusing on down and distance and who it is that needs to step up. Is this going to be a guy that can step up, on 3rd and short when it's an obvious run play? Is Ziggy Hood going to be a guy that can maintain gap control? Is Matt Ioannidis still going to be able to gain pressure with only one hand? Is Junior Gillette going to be able to collapse that pocket from the outside, or is he going to open up a huge running lane for somebody who runs a 5.6 40 and has been in the league 14 years in Phillip Rivers and be able to gain yardage against us because he over pursued? I mean, all kinds of things. Are we going to be able to maintain the fundamentals? Because we need to find out what the future of this football team is. We do every single offseason. Who are we keeping? Who are we letting go? What are we going to have to do in the draft? Because that's going to dictate what we do in the draft. That's going to dictate what we do in the offseason as far as free agency goes. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Taking a look at the LA Chargers coming in next week at the results of that game. Then after that, gosh, I don't even know who it is that we have after that. We have another division rival game coming up. I think we got one division rival that's left, and that's the Giants. So, coming up after that, we've got the Cardinals, Broncos, and Giants. Cardinal game's a winnable game. Broncos game is definitely a winnable game. And the New York Giants game is a winnable game. This Charger game was the only game out of these next 5 or 6 games that we had was the one that I read circled as a possible loss because of the way that team is playing right now. And the way that our injuries are stacking up, one right after the other. Huge ask on defense. Huge ask on defense. So let's see how well we do on both sides of the football. Let me know in the comments down below what it is you guys think about this video. Some of the comments that have been made. Some of your outlooks. Some individuals. I've already gotten some feedback from some of you on individuals that we should be looking at the running back position. The running back position, I think, is going to be a good position to look at because we're going to need a running back coming into this draft. That is definitely true. But I don't necessarily know if taking a running back in the first 3 rounds is going to be something that we need to do right now. I don't think we're in a position to do that. We have a huge, huge issue at offensive line that needs to be addressed. And if you plan on going to free agency at offensive line, then I can see taking a high draft pick at running back. But if you're not going to do that, then you need to start drafting some people at the higher ends of this draft for those interior positions, and then you can start taking a look at running back in the later rounds, or maybe even the offseason, or as far as free agency goes. There's 2 different directions that I see us being able to go here, or that I would be willing to go here. So I would not be down with a first-round running back. I just wouldn't be. We've got some pretty good players on this team when healthy that I think are first-round draft selection worthy that are already on this football team. You guys know who I'm talking about. But picking up somebody behind him, I don't necessarily think that's an option for us. So let me know down below what you guys have. Come up with some ideas, some guys that you guys think I should look at, especially when it comes to offensive and defensive line, some people that you guys have red circled. That's going to do it for me, guys. For us fans, the twin feather, we ride together. Redskins for life. Peace out. Catch y'all next time.